In 2021 to 2022, India recorded a total trade of about $189 billion with 7 Gulf countries: Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, UAE, Oman, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait and Iraq, accounting for 18.3% of its combined value of imports and exports, shows Commerce Ministry data. In 2017, the Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) countries alone accounted for 55.6% of total remittance flow into India. Let's take a closer look at our economic ties with the countries of West Asia via the course of this video. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman and Bahrain are the 7 Arab states of the Persian Gulf. 6 of these, barring Iraq, are part of the GCC. India recorded trade of $154.7 billion with GCC countries in 2021 to 2022, 77% above the muted base of 2020 to 2021 and 28% higher than 2019 to 2020. Notably, these countries are some of India's biggest trading partners. The UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Iraq ranked 3rd, 4th and 5th, respectively, in terms of total trade with India in 2021 to 2022. India's exports to GCC countries stood at $43.9 billion, with a trade deficit amounting to $66.8 billion. At 43.2% of total trade with these countries, the India-GCC trade deficit is higher than India's overall trade deficit of 18.4%. India's trade relationship with Gulf countries bears twofold significance: oil dependency and a potentially large export market for India there. We need to be cautious in not offending our major trading partners, said Son Ray, a visiting professor at the Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations. In February, India and the UAE signed a free trade agreement (FTA), which will allow zero-duty access to 97% of Indian products and 90% of products from the UAE over the next 10 years. It came into force on 1st May and is the first FTA finalized by the Narendra Modi government. India is also considering a wider trade pact with the GCC. Meanwhile, Arab countries host many Indian immigrants, non-resident Indians and persons of Indian origin, and the countries are also a critical source of inward remittances into India. Consider this: 27.7% of overseas Indians stay in the GCC countries. The UAE tops the list in the region with over 3.4 million Indians, followed by Saudi Arabia, 2.6 million, and Kuwait, 1 million, as per data from the Ministry of External Affairs. Consequently, these Indians also send money back home, known as inward remittances. Gulf countries are among the top 10 sources of inward remittances. The UAE is the biggest source, as immigrants settled there had sent back $13.8 billion in 2017. Saudi Arabia is 3rd, at $11.2 billion, followed by Kuwait and Qatar at $4.6 billion and $4.1 billion, respectively, shows data compiled by the Pew Research Center. This is the latest data available with a country-wise breakdown.